In the early 1970s, at the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union was racing to achieve what no nation had ever done before: land a spacecraft on another planet. But this was not just any planet. This was Venus. Venus was known as the most hostile world in the solar system. Its surface temperature reached over 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. The atmospheric pressure was more than 90 times that of Earth, equivalent to being nearly a kilometer underwater. Thick clouds of sulfuric acid surrounded the planet, hiding its surface from view. What made Venus truly terrifying was not just its heat, but its unpredictability. The planet's atmosphere was so dense that sunlight barely reached the surface. Winds moved slowly, but the pressure alone could crush most machines instantly. Previous missions had already failed. Some probes were destroyed before reaching the surface. Others stopped transmitting long before landing. Engineers knew they were not sending a spacecraft into space. They were sending it into a furnace. Despite these extreme conditions, the Soviet Union launched a mission called Venera 7. It was designed to survive what many engineers believed was unsurvivable. The spacecraft was heavily reinforced, built like a pressure tank, and equipped with systems meant to endure crushing force and unbearable heat. To survive these conditions, Venera 7 was built like no spacecraft before it. Its outer shell was reinforced with thick metal, designed to withstand immense pressure. The internal systems were insulated, attempting to delay the inevitable rise in temperature. But even with these precautions, engineers did not expect it to last long. Every second on the surface of Venus was considered a victory. The goal was simple in theory: reach Venus, descend through its atmosphere, land, and transmit data back to Earth. In reality, it was one of the most dangerous engineering challenges ever attempted. As Venera 7 approached Venus in December 1970, everything depended on a perfect sequence of events. The spacecraft entered the atmosphere at incredible speed, protected by a heat shield that had to withstand temperatures hotter than molten metal. Any failure at this stage would mean instant destruction. As the probe descended deeper, the atmosphere became thicker and more violent. The parachute, already damaged, struggled to slow the fall. Imagine falling through an atmosphere so dense it feels like liquid, with heat building every second, and no way to stop it. Inside Venera 7, systems were reaching their limits. During descent, something went wrong. The parachute system, critical for slowing the spacecraft, partially failed. Instead of a controlled descent, Venera 7 began to fall faster than expected, tumbling through the dense atmosphere of Venus. Inside the spacecraft, temperatures were rising rapidly. Systems were under extreme stress. Engineers on Earth could only wait, listening to faint signals, unsure if the probe would survive the final moments of descent. Against all odds, Venera 7 reached the surface of Venus. But the landing was not gentle. The spacecraft struck the ground hard, likely damaging its internal systems. The impact was not just a landing. It was a collision with an alien world. Dust and heat surrounded the probe. The surface of Venus was unlike anything on Earth: dry, cracked, and suffocating. And yet, somehow, it continued to transmit. For a moment, it seemed the mission had failed. Signals weakened, and silence followed. But then, something unexpected happened. A faint transmission was detected. The spacecraft was still alive. For 23 minutes, Venera 7 transmitted data from the surface of another planet, the first time in human history this had ever been achieved. The data it sent back was limited, but revolutionary. It confirmed the extreme temperature of Venus. It confirmed the crushing atmospheric pressure. For the first time, humanity was no longer guessing. It knew. But the victory was short-lived. The extreme conditions of Venus began to destroy the spacecraft. The internal temperature continued to rise. Electronics started to fail. The structure itself was being pushed beyond its limits. Slowly, the probe began to die. Some scientists believe that by the end of the transmission, parts of Venera 7 had already begun to deform under the intense heat and pressure. The very environment it was sent to study was consuming it. There was no rescue. No recovery. No return. Only silence, after the signal faded. The spacecraft that had survived the descent, the impact, and the impossible conditions of Venus, had finally succumbed. It had melted on the surface of another world. Yet, despite its destruction, Venera 7 achieved something extraordinary. It proved that landing on another planet was possible. It provided the first direct measurements of Venus's surface conditions. And it demonstrated that even in the most hostile environments, human engineering could push the boundaries of exploration. The story of Venera 7 is not just about success. It is about survival, failure, and the extreme cost of discovery. Somewhere on the surface of Venus, under crushing pressure and relentless heat, the remains of Venera 7 still lie, a silent monument to one of humanity's most daring missions. And a reminder that some worlds are never meant to be touched. If stories of extreme exploration, lost missions, and impossible environments fascinate you, subscribe to Archive of the Impossible for more real and unexplained historical events every week.